Hello and welcome everyone to our Community Day in Europe, our third in a 5-region series where we celebrate you, Internet Society individual, chapter, and organization members, and everything you've accomplished. We're all very happy you've joined here today. My name is Daniele Turra, a member of the Internet Society's Youth Standing Group and a 2023 Internet Society's Youth Ambassador. I work as an IT business analyst in consulting for both public government and private clients. But when I first approached Internet Society, I was only focused on carrying out advocacy activities for the importance of privacy, free and open source software, digital resilience, and encryption. However, Internet Society opened me to new perspectives on multi-stakeholder policy and its role towards a fairer internet, stronger democracies, and more accountable institutions and corporations worldwide. So it is a great pleasure for me to be here after all of the new experiences Internet Society introduced me to. So today's Community Day begins with opening remarks from our current Managing Director and incoming Internet Society's CEO, Sally Wentworth, followed by a keynote address from Walid Al-Safaq, co-founder of our ISOC Yemen chapter, a long-time Internet Society member, and a former ISOC Board of Trustees representative. But first of all, just remember to adhere to our code of conduct. Make sure to mute yourself if you're not speaking. And also raise your hand if you need to say anything or to ask a question. You can also use reactions here on Zoom. Also, remember that this session will be recorded and a link for future viewing will be shared after the call. So again, after a brief introductions, we will highlight examples of impactful moments that our members as change makers have made so far to empower the internet for everyone and strengthen connections, expanding internet's reach, and safeguarding it from harm. Next, we will engage in a moderated roundtable discussion with 3 regional experts and community advocates on strengthening and defending the internet. The discussions will explore opportunities to grow, protect, and improve the internet's resilience, particularly focusing on how our European region community is working towards protecting the health and integrity of the internet and supporting its evolution. Finally, we will conclude today's event with our Time to Act segment, during which we will connect our session insights and learnings to inspire concrete actions that everyone can take to advocate for an open global internet for everyone. This session aims to share actionable steps to strengthen and protect the internet and its opportunities. But first, let's start with a brief hello from our community. So please, Raquel.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Joseph, the current president of ISOC Haiti chapter.
Hello, my name is Nicolas Fiumarelli from the Internet Society Uruguay chapter.
Coucou, je suis Sarkis de l'Internet Society Madagascar chapter.
Hi everyone, my name is Aida Patikonate from the Internet Society Ghana chapter.
Hi, I am Abdurrahman Abu Talib from the Internet Society Yemen chapter.
Hello, I'm Haris Amaragic from Internet Society Bosnia and Herzegovina chapter.
I joined ISIT because I believe in its mission to promote an open, secure, trustworthy, and accessible internet for all.
I'm proud that together we are creating an internet for everyone by advocating for universal access, promoting digital literacy, fostering innovation, and ensuring a safe and secure online environment.
I was seeking for advocacy and to align with my ideas regarding the internet security enhancement and how the multi-stakeholder model works.
Ce qui m'a inspiré à rejoindre ISO, et là, ISO fait un travail remarquable sur le plan national, régional ou mondial. Sa renommée ne passe pas du tout inaperçue. Donc voilà ce qui m'a inspiré à rejoindre cette communauté.
I belong in this community because I believe in internet for all.
I'm proud that together we are creating an internet for everyone by ensuring that the internet is safe, open, and secure for all.
So thank you so much, and let's get to it. Let's get started. We are pleased to introduce our first speaker, the incoming president and CEO of the Internet Society, Sally Wentworth, to share insights and inspiration on the work we do collectively and worldwide as the Internet Society. Please, Sally, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Danielle, and thank you to everyone for joining us today. That was a wonderful moment and tribute in that video to the global community that comes together in the Internet Society to advocate and to build an internet for everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here today. Of course, Europe is a long been a strong part of the Internet Society's community with so many active chapters, individuals, and organization members who all believe in the mission of the Internet Society. It is therefore my pleasure to open this Community Day for Europe and notice that we are all here today because of our passion for the Internet. It is one of the most amazing inventions of humankind that has undeniably transformed our world for the better. It has connected us together with all of our diverse cultures that we just saw in this video, languages, histories, ideas, expertise. It keeps us connected, and it kept us connected through a global pandemic and given us unparalleled access to information and education and connected us in ways we never thought possible. In all of this, there is only one globally connected, decentralized internet. But we also know that this vision of the internet is increasingly under threat all over the world. We are living at a time when misinformation and distrust have damaged the perception of the internet, not only here in Europe, but around the world. Policies and decisions are being made right now that have the potential to undermine the very characteristics that make the internet so unique and so important to us all. But I have seen what can happen when the Internet Society community comes together to build and defend the internet. We are a global community. We are unique in that we come together at the global level, at the regional, and at the national level because we have a shared vision of an affordable, reliable, and resilient internet for everyone. We together can bring the opportunities of the internet to even more people throughout Europe and throughout the world. There has never been a more pivotal time than now for the ISOC community to come together and bring the social and economic benefits of the internet to everyone. There is one globally connected and decentralized internet, and I'm so pleased to be part of this global community, to share this moment with you over the next 90 minutes, to really think about the ways in which we together can advocate for a technology that we believe in, that I know all of you believe in. And so I want to say from the Internet Society, from the leadership, thank you for your volunteer work on behalf of the community. And together, let's advocate, let's build, let's defend the internet that we so deeply care about. Back over to you, Danielle. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sally, so much for your deep insights. We look forward to your experience guidance in the Internet Society's road ahead. Let's now review some of the successes that Internet Society's regional individuals and chapters actually achieved over the last year. So please, Nick.
Thank you, Daniela. Thank you, everybody. Yes, I'm Nick Herka. I'm the Community Engagement Manager for the European region at the Internet Society. It's great to have you all here. Our time today is insufficient to cover all the extraordinary achievements that our community, our chapters, our members have done over the year. Here we have 30 active chapters in the European region, and they're supported by approximately 8,500 chapter members. We also have a very important comment to make about the celebration that we need to make for the unwavering and dedicated support and patronage of our organization members. They provide crucial support to the Internet Society's unsustainable work with the community to protect and defend the Internet and what it can provide to the world. So our sincere thanks to our organizational members. Now, with that, I'm going to share my screen because I have some special things to share with you regarding these successes. Okay. So all of us here are part of a society of the Internet protectors and defenders. And as the mission of the Internet Society says, we believe the Internet is a resource to enrich people's lives and a force for good in society. I will show you a sample of how this is expressed in the inspiring work of our chapters and the impact of their achievements. As you may guess, I can't fit all of our chapters projects in this presentation, so what you see today is a limited representation. Okay, communication technologies and internet access significantly improve the quality of life of the blind and partially sighted people. In 2021, our Bosnia and Herzegovina chapter launched the project, Internet is a Tool for Empowering the Weak and Silent Voices of People with Disabilities, funded by the Internet Society Foundation. Hamdos Kentra is the instructor and he is visually impaired. He has trained 10 students to date, and one student expressed that the Internet is a public good and is intended for all people. The Serbia Belgrade chapter's project, Air to the People 2.0, focuses on building a wide community of citizens who strive to reduce the impact of climate change and air pollution, while actively advocating for the installation of devices that measure air quality. These installations provide greater transparency and improve the availability of data regarding air pollution levels. Our Georgia chapter prepared the study Analysis of the Impact of the Legislative Framework for Minors, which examined the norms in the field of Internet services. The report also reviewed important measures taken by the international community to protect children's rights in the online space and recommendations for stakeholders. Our amazing Armenia chapter continues to show its versatility in community activities. It launched the Armenian School on Internet Governance in 2017 for anyone wishing to study Internet governance-related topics. The chapter provides technical and software support to regional libraries. Its technical support course is designed for various age and professional groups to provide essential technical and software security skills. The chapter champions many other successful projects, such as supporting women in tech. Our Netherlands chapter launched an initiative to explore the feasibility of establishing a chapter think tank, which aims to create a platform for independent policy research and knowledge production, focusing on the digital society. The chapter is also active in data protection, participates in a roundtable on disinformation, and discusses how economic instruments can influence the quality of the Internet. Our mighty Kyrgyzstan chapter is known for actively supporting community networks. Now, wired internet has become available in remote settlements with high-speed access, allowing residents to access internet services, and children can engage in remote learning. The Sanarit Insan project promotes economic opportunities and the resilience of youth and women in rural regions. Mapping LoRaWAN coverage supports Internet of Things technology to enhance connectivity and fortify research efforts. The chapter has many other activities, including the Digital Resilience Project. Our Slovenia chapter successfully led a Teach the Teachers and high school students cybersecurity and cyber safety. The training of teachers took place via the internet, yay, as distance learning, while the training of interested students took place, excuse me, live in their classrooms. Our Ukraine chapter shows its resilience in triumphing projects such as Science Skills Boosters Suite, an exhibition of scientific and technical creativity of and for young people, The chapter holds internet management courses where students gain knowledge and skills on internet governance processes, multi-stakeholderism, policies, and resources. Its seasonal school of internet management covers complex mechanisms of internet management and more. Many of these projects shown were supported by the Internet Society Foundation, and our chapters engaged with many other activities such as conferences and webinars to raise awareness among the community. And speaking of communications, the Internet Society holds frequent community calls and webinars around the globe with many live casts on a variety of subjects. Having these calls provides an invaluable open communication between the Internet Society, the Foundation, and our members around the world. The calls are an essential lifeline to our rich and varied community. I hope these examples have stirred pride in you as an Internet Society member, as it has for me. It takes a community to defend it. Okay, I don't know if we have Walid. Can we confirm?
Not yet, Nick. So I think we should just move to the panel and then we invite him a little bit later, if that's okay.
Yes, of course. So thank you all, and over to you, Daniela.
Thank you so much, Nick. It was such an inspirational and broad overview of all the different achievements that Internet Society permitted over the last year. And also, I want to highlight how Internet Society mission is still remaining relevant and very current to the different challenges we are seeing nowadays, and how different regional organizations and communities are able to find solution to this. So this is very remarkable, and it's all thanks to Internet Society. So we now move to our roundtable discussion segment. It is moderated by the Internet Society Board of Trustees Chair, Ted Hardy, with the team Empowering Voices, Shaping the Future of the Internet's Evolution. Our panelists include Talant Sultanov from Internet Society's Kyrgyzstan, Nadia Chayja, Youth Eurodig and ISOC Belgium board, and Frederick Thijs from Internet Society Belgium. So Ted, thank you, and over to you.
Thank you, Danielle, and welcome to everybody to today's community-led event. We've already been inspired by the diverse impacts and achievements, both large and small, made by our members. In this roundtable, we'll focus on how we all have, can, and need to support the resilience of the internet, protecting it from threats and abuse to ensure its health and integrity. Our panelists today are exemplary representatives of our community in action, and I'm happy that they can share their rich experiences with us. Each has a unique story of overcoming challenges and thriving in various capacities. Frederic is an information security manager in Europe for a big multinational food retailer and president of the Internet Society Belgium chapter. You've successfully coordinated diverse communities and chapter activities. You're a staunch defender of the internet, privacy rights, and encryption. And recently, your work with Brussels School of Governance has been pivotal in connecting students to policymakers. Talant, your efforts in connecting communities, ensuring digital opportunities for women and minorities, and spearheading projects like the Elim Box Digital Library are commendable. As president of the Kyrgyzstan chapter, a digital development specialist at the World Bank, and now a policy advocacy advisor with the Global Digital Inclusion Partnership, your contributions are vital in bridging digital divides. Nadia, your active membership in the Internet Society Belgium chapter and your PhD research on the legitimacy of multi-stakeholder approaches in internet governance highlight your dedication. As a key figure in Eurodig and YouthDig, you've been instrumental in engaging youth globally in internet governance and digital policy. Youth Dialogue and Internet Governance, a decade of youth participation. Your work provides valuable recommendations for fostering youth involvement in internet governance and is a testament to you and your co-authors' impact. The impressive accomplishments of all the panelists are all the more remarkable because they stem from their volunteer work. They do this on their own to support the internet. As we open up the panel, I invite you to discuss the power of influence, your success in engaging local and global communities to affect change, the challenges you faced, and how you motivate individuals who feel they have little authority to make a difference. Share the accomplishments you've witnessed in the ongoing evolution of the internet. We'll sort of go through one by one here to start off, and I'm going to ask Nadia to kick us off.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. And it's really an honor and a pleasure to be able to talk a little bit, because I would love to highlight the contribution of youth participation in internet governance. We see a lot now in Europe, how youth are now taking a stance, how this is something that we call meta participation, where youth are not only talking about the content anymore, they're creating and generating spaces where other young people or other people who have not been able to have the opportunity to engage, to reach out to new stakeholders, to get involved in these type of different processes. And a lot of these things have come from people from the Internet Society, young people from the Internet Society who set up their own organizations to include people, to set up new projects, and they become more and more prominent in their work throughout Europe. And we're very proud of how these projects have developed. For example, their governments came out of this. And a few years ago, also Digital Grassroots was from Internet Society ambassadors. Young people are really looking towards how can we include different stakeholders, and how can we then influence the changes that we need to see in our society based on our local needs. Trying to influence different opportunities and using these different platforms, both at Internet Society, at Eurodic, and in other governance spaces. And I really hope that when we look at youth participation, that we're not thinking about youth as newcomers, and not only about youth as experts. We're thinking about youth in a variety of fluidity, in fluid ways. We see youth being young mothers, young men who just came out of military service or going through military service. There are different types of backgrounds and connections that make youth vulnerable, but also strong. And allowing this to really take us in allows us to have a more directed approach towards what participation from youth actually means. We need to adjust accordingly and see how youth then can participate, because they are going through a process. They're not established and they're not supported by organizations, but they are trying to find a way to navigate themselves to create safety and spaces in which they can contribute to processes, where they can feel safe in being on the internet, and create spaces where they can provide other people with that safety. And for now, I would love to leave it here, but I look forward to having more discussions with the others about how we can contribute and how we can include young people to ensure that the internet remains a safe space, and that we include more stakeholders. And it is really directed to understanding people who are in transition. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nadia. Talant, can I ask you to follow up with that?
Thanks so much, Ted. It's a great pleasure to be part of this discussion. And my intervention, I think it's a natural continuation of what Nadia has talked about, closing the youth digital divide. I'd like to talk about closing the gender digital divide. And in our work at the Internet Society Kyrgyz chapter, we've established to ourselves several principles, which go girls first. So anything we do should be convenient, comfortable, safe for girls. And if that principle holds, then it becomes convenient, comfortable for all. Second principle that we're using is rural first. So very few people in the capital city of Bishkek know of our work, because 99% of our activities are happening in rural communities. And third principle that we're following is local language first. So if you speak English, or if you speak in our part of the world Russian, you have access to wealth of information and opportunities online. But if you step out of, into the rural communities, people speak local languages, and oftentimes miss out on opportunities because there is very little relevant content. So these are some of the principles that we've been following and doing work in rural areas. And these examples that Nick showed earlier are really inspiring. And one example I'd like to share in Kyrgyzstan is there is a group of young people who have established a YouTube channel where they now have more views than Taylor Swift, and almost more than twice than BTS. And this is just a young team of people with great talent and with access to the internet. And if there was no digital opportunities like this, then they would not have become global superstars, and their name is the billions. So our intention is to create opportunities and to uncover such gems so that anybody who lives in any part of the world, especially if it's women, young people, vulnerable groups of society, they should have opportunity to unlock social and economic opportunities that internet provides. And that's why I recently joined as an advisor the Global Digital Inclusion Partnership, which is implementing a new initiative called Women in Digital Economy Fund, WIDEF, which will provide opportunities for girls and women around the world with technical assistance, with grants and other opportunities, so that more and more girls and women in the world will have access to these great opportunities that are available online. So let me close at the moment with that, and hope to contribute more later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Talant. Frederick, we're going to come over to you. And I know that you're a staunch person who's interested in privacy rights and encryption. And there's obviously a natural connection there to protecting vulnerable populations on the internet. And maybe as you start reflecting on your experience, you could connect those dots.
Yeah, thank you, Ted, for the question. First, it's really an honor, so pleasure to be here. And I would like to say, whatever the content, it's really diversity and inclusion that is really key and important, is to have and to be able to address the whole community. And there, when we talk about encryption, privacy, things like that, we need to have the right message to the right person. That's really key, and that we have learned. So we start with a global communication about encryption. It was really difficult to be understood. What is encryption? And we start to talk about privacy with some people. And it was really effective. Yeah, Anthony, you say something? No, there was someone. Okay, so how we can engage really the community? We have the Global Encryption Coalition. That is really something really great that Internet Society is supporting, and it enables really to have global support more for policymakers. That's one way of achieving it. For others, it's more to address to schools and higher schools with young people to be able to address a message about at least that they can be concerned about what's the future of internet and the security. Now there is a chat control a discussion in EU, so not the global EU we have here, but the European Union. And that's something we are working with Internet Society. And from there, we can really leverage and see all the threats there are on the internet to the communities. The one I have maybe less easy to do is not the young people, the older, but the people with less time. So that's the middle age, I would say, young adults with children, they have less time. And that's my next also a challenge I would like to attract people. And it's really speak the language of people, trust, security, privacy, that speaks to people, and avoid any technical terms as encryption. That's in a nutshell.
Thank you very much. I guess one follow-up question, maybe I'll ask Nadia to start this, is thinking about the groups of people you work with and maybe the kinds of challenges that Frederick is talking about. What strategies do you think might work for education and awareness raising about the issues of privacy and the need for encryption?
This discussion that I've been having in my community is actually, what does privacy mean for young people? Because how they perceive privacy is very fundamentally different to what I would say older generations perceive as privacy, the concept of being completely offline anonymity, or that you do have the right to people's personal information because of safety concerns, because of concerns of, you see a lot more young people being online dating, and therefore they feel that they have the right to particular personal information about an individual, kind of like a review board for Tinder. So the conversations that young people are having about privacy are increasingly in education looking really different to conversations that we're having. What does privacy mean on the internet? For us to having a conversation about what that means, we need to have kind of a common understanding of how we want to approach that. Does privacy really mean, for some people, being completely offline, having no connection, concept of what does your data mean and who owns your data, or our concept of surveillance more important to ensure the safety and security of people who are engaging online? That is not per se a new conversation, but it is a conversation that young people are now having and have difficulties navigating. So what young people see as having to be further educated about this is perhaps, if you think about the technology that is involved with concepts of privacy and the ideology or the philosophy of privacy, what are the consequences of each technology about your concept of privacy? What is the balance, and how do we then navigate this balance? So for me, I would say understanding what the concept of balance is in terms of privacy and raising awareness from that point of view, that will allow them to have a better understanding how technology impacts their daily lives.
Thank you. And Talant, obviously you're working with a very different set of folks. As you said, you're rural first. How are you seeing the concept of privacy playing out in the communities you're working with, and how are you negotiating that conversation?
Thanks so much, Ted. This is actually a very important question, especially since in our work, we are bringing people to the internet for the first time. And when they come online for the first time, sometimes they are very trustful. They think that everything is good in the internet. And that's why we feel a lot of responsibility for training people that if in real life there are people with good intentions and bad intentions, online it will be the same. And that's why we have launched a project called Technology for Society, where we've been providing cyber hygiene trainings for people, especially for ordinary citizens and civil society organizations, because we thought that, for example, in private sector, they have resources to hire cyber protection. Government, they have special agencies that can do the cyber protection, whereas ordinary citizens are sometimes left to their own. And we've been witnessing in Kyrgyzstan, as an example of a developing country, growth of cyber crimes against ordinary people losing money, people's identities being stolen. Even the president's videos have been deep faked, and people are following these, deep fake videos and becoming prey. So this is very important. And also I wanted to highlight in general the importance of meaningful and affordable connectivity. At first, we thought that if you just connect communities to the internet, that's where your work finishes. Then we realized that it's just the beginning of the journey. So bringing digital skills, developing local content, providing trainings to unlocking economic social opportunities. These are the following steps, providing cybersecurity. So there is actually a lot of work once you connect people to the internet.
That's certainly very true. And I think one thing that I want to pull out of what you're saying is the world on the internet is not a lot different from the world outside of it. There are people with good intentions and people with bad intentions. And a lot of times people want to have special purpose rules that apply to the internet, which are different from the rules that apply outside of it. And I think one of the things that the Internet Society has kind of discussed with policymakers is whether we can keep the same rules for the online and the offline world and simply think about how they're applied. And with that, I might want to turn over to Frederic and talk to him about how you engage with policymakers and how you would encourage other parts of the society to engage with policymakers on topics like that.
Yeah, good question, Ted. The good example I would like to give was in the context of elections. We had the European elections earlier this month, and together also with support of Internet Society in the Brussels School of Governance, we invited all political groups and especially the digital advisor to those political groups to explain what they made the last 5 years and what are really the challenge they see for the future. And that was really key. We were able to discuss with them and to see completely different approach. For example, one political group, and we lead one of the biggest one in Europe, have presented internet as full of threats. Cybercriminality, child sexual abuse, pedopornography, we have harassment, everything. And so that's okay, that's too much. We need to control and to be able to listen any communication, to be the policeman of the internet. And that was basically the message. And so during the talk, and it was really fascinating, nearly 3 hours of talk that was not planned so long. But we saw questions. We have explained that internet is different from the other medias, to the digital advisors. We have explained also that the solutions are also new threats. They think we will do that to implement solutions to be able to listen any communication on the internet. But internet is global and it could be misused also against them, against what the goal they want to achieve. We were able to convince, and they have said at the end, okay, after the elections, we will contact you, Internet Society, to better come with good proposals. And so that, I think, it's really effective. It's only a few policymakers, but we need to identify the right one. We need the digital advisors to policymakers. We have also met, that was also another success in Belgium, the Cabinet of Digitalization and Privacy. And it was also with the support of Internet Society. And that's really powerful when we come together, because if we are just a local group, how many people are you in your chapters, etc., it's difficult. But when we can say that, okay, we are part of a global organization with local presence, really the background, Think Global, Act Local, then we are really perceived really powerful and someone to listen to. And we can come then with tools like Internet Pulse. I'm really a great fan. They had also side questions about this and that, internet resilience, blah, blah, blah. And then we have, wow, we have all this information. And that's really key. We have a global Internet Society with local presence, and we can really on local level take contacts with the right persons with the support of the entire society.
Thanks very much. I think one of the things that really resonates with me on that is the idea that the internet is a fundamentally different kind of medium than many others. I mean, as Nadia was saying earlier, many people are doing dating online as youth these days, and that's very clearly different from the interaction they would have with television media or print media. Not a lot of people who are buying ad space to do their dating activity, where it is a very normal part of life for many of the folks now. I also wanted to pick up something you were talking about, presenting other kinds of information as a way of engaging with policymakers, as a way of collaborating. It does seem like maintaining a breadth of the interaction and not trying to focus very narrowly on one topic at a time has been successful for you there. And I wanted to ask Nadia if that's her experience as well, or what experiences she's had in trying to drive collaboration with other governments or with other NGOs that are interested in the same space.
Thank you very much for your question. I actually, if you don't mind me slightly pivoting, I just wanted to comment on policymakers. One thing that a small group of young people have been working on in Belgium is they were wondering who is advising the EU on digital affairs. And they were actually like, so now that the elections have passed, there's new people incoming on a variety of different levels of staff. Who are these people being informed? Where are they being taught? Where it's not per se a degree in internet governance, but where they're getting the information from, who's informing them. And a lot of this, so this is still in progress, but they're concerned that a lot of it is coming from YouTube videos. It's not, they're not asking ICANN, they're not asking ISOC, they're not asking people who have a long-term understanding of educating internet governance to come and teach this. And one of the campaigns that they're considering is whether or not there should be a big campaign on lobbying with, for example, the European Internet Forum to then teach internet governance to all parliamentarians. from courses that they learned from ISOC, from I Can Learn or anything like that. So it's not about so what some younger people are concerned about is not about per se the connection that they have themselves with policymakers, but whether policymakers are being equipped by the right people, and whether or not, because they're worried that if this idea that younger people know more about the internet than those who are regulating about it, then we need to know where they're getting their information from and how can we support their continuous involvement in these spaces, like what we're doing today, and having people coming and turning up here to have a better understanding of the projects that people are working on so that they can effectively navigate that. One concern that young people have when they invite parliamentarians and government officials turning up to these events is they always talk about how great youth participation is. They're not talking about the content because they themselves are not aware or familiar with the content. So then it becomes about, it's great that there's youth participation. It's a really great opportunity to have this form of engagement. And it becomes about what role young people play within expertise rather than actual young people providing expertise that is being commented on because they themselves are not prepared to have that conversation. It is great when we do have some parliamentarians who turn up to places like the IGF and other spaces who have been briefed and are able to talk about specific content. At Eurodic, for example, we had Kai Zenner, who is now doing a large education strategy about how to teach the communities about how the AI Act was created and how we should be going through that development. So having conversations with people like Kai Zenner has been extremely fruitful because it's really content focused. But with others, it then becomes a little bit more difficult, especially when they are not aware of the technicalities. And I don't mean per se technical, but more about terminology, more about the future or an idea of where we're progressing towards with the internet, rather than the things that we hear in the media.
Thank you very much. Talant, it seems like some of your experiences might read on that as well. Obviously, because you're working rural first, you said 99% of the people in the capital city probably don't know anything about what you're doing. How do you engage with them when you do need them to know how you're doing and when you need their collaboration or assistance, whether they're policymakers or maybe folks in related industries who may need to support your work?
Thank you, Ted. Very relevant question. What I wanted to say is working with policymakers sometimes feels like a dance of tango, one step forward and maybe 2 steps back. And maybe sometimes it can feel frustrating, but in our case, we never gave up. I did work in the government in the past, so it gave me a little bit of understanding how to engage with policymakers. And we've been very successfully collaborating with government agencies in implementing initiatives that we would like to do. For example, one interesting project that we are doing with the support of Internet Society Foundation is using climate sensors to monitor climate and to forecast potential natural disasters. And there we've been working very closely with the Ministry of Emergency Situations and Ministry of Environmental Protection. They are our first beneficiaries of the data that we've been collecting through this new types of sensors using LoRaWAN technology. And if there was no government involvement, the impact of our project had not been as as big. I also wanted to expand that not only policymakers, in general, in working with different types of stakeholders or what we call multi-stakeholder approach is very important. I'm actually at the moment at the Internet Governance Forum meeting in Geneva, where we're discussing the issues of multi-stakeholder approach. And one of the projects that we've been implementing in Kyrgyzstan is called Digital Skills Sanarip Insan project, where we are working with government, with private sector partners, with international organizations using global experience, for example, GSMA's mobile internet training tools toolkit or Microsoft's digital skills toolkits, adapting this into local languages. And what we are seeing now is really a huge impact on like local scales. For example, one lady launched her guest house and her income tripled within just very few days after she learned all these mobile tools. In other province, we discovered that if there were very few guest houses online, now the increase is 6 times just after a couple of days of training, of demonstrating to people the potential of doing business online. So when you work together with different stakeholders, rural communities, municipal authorities, national governments, international organizations, and private sector, the impacts can be really, really big, and sometimes we feel so kind of impressed but what local people can do. So that's why we're very happy to share all this experience with partners like the ones here.
Thank you very much. I do want to just pick up on two things you said. I know that you were saying that you were doing environmental measurements and sharing that data with the government, and I'm sure with others. There's actually been, as was pointed out by Nick earlier, some really interesting work by the ISOC Belgrade chapter on extending that sort of sensor network into air pollution and trying to understand the impact of air pollution by using sort of a crowdsourced view of it. And I think that's a really interesting use of the network that we can maybe take forward as a benefit to the governments that maybe they haven't been hearing about. The other thing I think you were pointing out that maybe we want to have a little bit more discussion on is trying to look forward. Obviously, in the case that you're talking about, people are discovering the economic potential of the internet. They're seeing if they take up these digital tools, their ability to put their guest house or other resources online increases. But we're also, as we're looking forward, seeing some threats on the horizon. And I guess the first question to the panel is really, as you look forward, what threats do you see to the involvement of different communities in the internet or for the internet itself? Frederick, I know it's not a happy topic, but I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, no, it's a very good topic, and I have to say it's also make the link with the previous questions. Sometimes it's amazing where you have really policymakers, they do not understand internet. They compare it's telecom, and telecom is phone telephony, and so they just want to translate. And so I try to educate by explaining it's more like radio communications. And about the threats, the first threats I see is what I would name filtering. We have filtering can be anything. It can be splinternet, for example. We exclude our part of the traffic. It can be also, and we have realized that when we work in group, it starts with a parental control. You start with parental control. You cannot access to internet at that time or to social media, etc. And it's also promoted by some other big players on the market. You have the same in enterprises, in organizations, also for efficiency of the work, to avoid collaborators spending time on watching videos on internet, etc. And then we have that on all levels. And what we see with the internet shutdowns is really an extension of that. Is the same. It's put filters on the internet on what the traffic is going. And one of France really was concerning. They have decided recently, and they have shut down the TikTok services for about 2 weeks in New Caledonia because there were fights there. Okay, so we shut down that network. How they made is by playing on the DNS, was redirected to something else, and people were just okay. They couldn't use the system. And I really, I see that the first threat is the filtering on the internet on all levels, internet shutdowns, internet, all that is kind of filters to the internet. And then we have also others. It's wiretapping, and which is also extended with the possibilities of artificial intelligence. They could put billions of bots on the internet to spy communications of everyone. And if we have legislation enabling to really, from the basic internet communication, to listen everything, that's also a big concern. That would be my top two.
You said top two, but I heard three. I heard filtering, fragmentation.
Yeah, because artificial intelligence and wiretapping. Artificial intelligence is also one, but it's also the filters, the wiretapping of the internet, and who is extended by artificial intelligence. That's really a new challenge. especially with internet and everything, all data are in the cloud now. And so to protect the data, they put more filtering. In fact, all those three topics are really linked together. It's more filtering to protect, but also more inspect what is going through, so wiretapping, and also replacing a human by technology with artificial intelligence. And when we have the three together, it's really a dangerous mix, I would say.
Nadia, does that resonate with your sense of the threats we're facing, or are there others, or would you put a different set of emphasis on this?
I think, no, I won't add to it because I think that Frederic has elegantly addressed this, but I would like to add two examples. The first one being that there is a call for the right to be offline. And that call is now being very prominent among young people, that they're sending and spreading to each other the right to be offline, that all services should be offline and we shouldn't be engaging online anymore because online is dangerous. You're only online to have access to particular services, but now they're increasingly starting to retreat from being an open community to a rather smaller one. The value seems to have changed a little. And if I look at the balance of values, an example, if we're looking at rural communities, I was talking to a young Irish farmer, and we were all very excited. Everybody has the right to Wi-Fi in Europe. Everybody can have access in public spaces to Wi-Fi. You can do roaming, etc. But he lives on a farm, and on his farm, they don't have internet because the masts where they should be put, they're not allowed to be there in those particular lands because it's protected area. So there is a balance between the rights of Mother Earth then vis-a-vis what his personal rights are. And he said that in his opinion, he did not want to have those masts there because it would destroy the ecosystem, the natural ecosystem. So how the norms and values are being perceived, I see when we talk about policymakers that they're trying to overcome a problem. So there's a problem, there's an issue, and we try to solve the issue. And I think that they forget the mission, the vision, the value, the philosophy, the idea of what we want to achieve with the internet and how we want to look towards the future, and how that all these problems incorporated in that we kind of lose sight of that. And therefore then create kind of solutions to things without having an understanding or scope of how that fits into the wider thing, because it could change both sides. It could change the individual's perspective on why they should have it, so that it allows them to integrate better within a particular vision or value, and they really understand and support that value, such as the open internet. But there's also on the other side that policymakers, if they had known more a little bit about this wider vision, that regulations then may be different. So the threat, I would say, as it usually is within Europe, is norms and values that we try to manage and to understand and to balance.
Thank you very much. I think, Talent, it's over to you. Obviously, the two first speakers have talked both about the threats in terms of filtering, fragmentation, surveillance, the potential issues of AI, how, in fact, trying to provide these things may how to provide the internet itself may also have some balance issues with norms and values that are unrelated to the internet, including this right to be offline and this balance between the rights of Mother Earth and the individual. As you think about what's coming forward, what threats do you see, and how do you see these balances?
Mm-hmm. I generally agree with my colleagues, and I'd like to echo that these are indeed major concerns, major threats. And maybe I could just add the spin from the developing nations. One major issue is, I guess, this too overly enthusiastic acceptance and embracement of technologies, especially in developing countries, falling in love with face recognition cameras. And law enforcement authorities are saying, oh, now we are catching all these criminals. But this can be a double-edged sword. opposition politicians can be monitored, media can be monitored with these kind of technologies, and sometimes politicians themselves are becoming victim of these technologies. So I think we need to be very we need to worry about the threats that this kind of technologies can bring. Another major issue that we need to think about is child online protection. That again, people kind of may not be aware that there are bad guys online who are going after children. And speaking of traditional values here, I think our society is being a little bit safe, is that we still believe in the bad eye. And when we kind of bring children to public spaces, we try to protect them with omens and stuff. And when people post their children's pictures online, they are covering it with these emojis. It's because there is a kind of very traditional belief that there is a bad eye. So it's been helping us intuitively. And third, I think point that I wanted to highlight is the rise of gender-based violence in general and gender-based violence online. And as you mentioned earlier, Ted, law enforcement authorities maybe at the moment are not prepared to react to this now new type of crimes, and they don't know how to treat them. And women who are becoming prey for this kind of threats, they don't know who to go to. So this is also a major issue that we need to be aware of.
Thank you very much. And the next topic is really, now we've talked a little bit about what the problems are, what solutions do we see on the horizon? And I love the fact that the traditional solution for the evil eye of covering somebody's image is now translated to emojis and is actually working, right? If somebody puts that on top of an image, tracking the child online is probably more difficult, and therefore there's a protection there. It's an interesting interplay of traditional caution and online behavior. But as we think about how we're going to tackle these things, and Frederick, you teed up for this what you saw as those things are, what can individual groups that are part of the Internet Society do, either individually or in coordination, to start tackling the set of issues you laid out?
Yeah, good. So first, we need to think not about solutions, but really what is the problem and how to tackle it. I take the example of encryption. It was seen by some as breaking encryption is a solution to child and sexual abuse, because then we are able to identify the contents of the bad guys. But at the same time, it's also the issue, because if we remove the encryption, we also lose digital signature. We cannot say that this guy in legal court has sent pornographic content. He could say, no, but you were able to modify, and everyone can do it. It was not me, it was someone else. And so reinforcing the encryption and using more encryption is one part of the solution. I mentioned also artificial intelligence as a new threat, but it's also part of solutions. We had a workshop in the chapter about child and sexual abuse, and some came with artificial intelligence to generate content to attract bad people. Just as example, I know that this kind of techniques is used by the FBIs in the United States. And so there are plenty of solutions, but we need more to educate what's the impact on the longer term. And that's the main difficulty, because politicians see the short-term impacts. We do that, and that's a result. But they do not understand or don't want to, that on the longer term, it's just making the opposite, because the people will change behavior. They will use all the tools. They will bypass all the controls they want to put. And so only the good guys, the guys who will be protected, would use a system more weakened, not with a strong encryption, not with digital signature, integrity of data and privacy. And bad guys will continue to use illegal tools, but whatever. They will use their tools. For example, pre-encrypting content sent through internet, and then even if the government can encrypt, they will just discover encrypted content, and that's it. So there is a really easy bypass. So what do we need to do is to work on especially two aspects: the education, and that have to say that when we have talked with policymakers, this point was was how to say that's always neglected. The education of the schools, the pupils of the teachers. I really like the projects that were presented. I think it's really one key part of the future because we cannot manage everything with the technology. We need really to have the user more conscious of what he's doing and what trust means. If I go to websites, how can I trust these websites? And for example, one of the activities of the chapter is also to liaise with universities with thesis on this team, on the trust on internet to build solutions. And there are many solutions. More encryption is one, user awareness and how to make that effective. I would say that's, I think those are keys, not fully on technology, because the dehumanization is sometimes going too far. And that shows what Nadia said about the right to be offline. Sometimes we want to have the technology managing everything by itself, and that will not work.
Thank you very much. Nadia, I saw you nodding, especially when he was talking about the need for education. Would you like to follow up?
Yeah, I would love to. Specifically because I've had this conversation at Eurodig that when we talk about education, especially when it comes to the kind of concepts that come from the technical community, and we talk to policymakers, a lot of the time I hear things like, oh, we should break the internet and start over again. And sometimes a little bit astounded, but I've now done 7 years of YouthDig, the Youth Dialogue on Internet Governance, where I keep watching different teachers, both from a variety of different communities, not just academic, from ISOC, ICON, RIPE NCC. I've had trainers, teachers over the last 7 years. I've done Diplo Foundation, the Virtual School on Internet Governance, many summer schools, just to learn to learn about internet governance. And one of the things that that is being taught well is how the technical community, so that particular structure works. But when we actually talk to young people or we talk to policymakers about how that fits into the kind of wider structure and a wider understanding of policymaking, they don't understand or don't know concepts like the protocol wars, or they say, oh, we should make an IPv7 or an IPv8, which is already pre-designed, pre-assigned, and there's history regarding that. Those are things that they don't understand and then want to create something new about. So I support what, so I was nodding vigorously when Fredrik was saying, yes, we need to educate, but also think about the long term and how that affects. We need to have the more overarching questions about how these these historical aspects that we learn, the work that ISOC does and the work that ICANN or IPNCC do, how does that incorporate that as a totality, as an ecosystem, into policymaking messages for policymakers to have a better understanding the interaction between all these different components, concepts of protocol, concepts of regulation about Wi-Fi, 5G, and things like that. It's wide, but also they know something very specific, very siloed. To open up that conversation, I think is extremely important to have for them a bigger vision about how that all incorporates into internet governance.
Okay. And Ilant, as you think about this and respond to this, I'm going to ask you to maybe think about what responses you see to the future threats that maybe aren't about policy or internet governance, but maybe are more community-based or protocol-based. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I think for countries like Kyrgyzstan, who are just kind of becoming more digital countries, the issues are a lot of issues are still related to policy and recommendations. So the authorities catching up with the technological developments, and I think the industry is growing much faster, running much faster. Maybe civil society organizations are prepared more than the governments are able to kind of become ready for these new changes. But at the same time, I think we can play active role in helping authorities deal with both challenges and opportunities. And here I wanted to highlight that in our work, we rely a lot on the network of Internet Society chapters. Actually, many of the projects that we've been implementing, we got inspiration from partners and learned about these experiences at events like Internet Governance forums or IETF. Actually, I learned about policies in IT thanks to the school that organized Sally in IETF several years ago. That's what inspired me at that time working in the government to look into the opportunities in digital development. And when we started building community networks, we learned from partners in Georgia, Mexico, and India. Nick mentioned about project, actually, Ted, I think you mentioned about our project Box, the Internet in the Box. We got the inspiration from partners in Mexico during IGF there. So it's the value of this network is so huge, and the impact on local communities is really great. So I wanted to highlight that as well.
Thank you very much. And I think that's a great place for us to close, that this whole community day is about being inspired by the other parts of ISOC and the work they're doing. I've been inspired by the conversations of our panel today, and I want to thank each of them for sharing their experiences and joining us. I think the next item on our slightly revised agenda is to go back to Walid's keynote speech. And Nick, I believe you're introducing it. Is that correct?
That's correct. So thank you all. Thank you for the great roundtable. Thank you. Yes, so we have our keynote speaker, and this is Walid Al-Safaq. He is a former Internet Society Board of Trustees member. He's an associate professor and lecturer, and the Internet Society's Yemen chapter co-founder. He's a visionary leader for anti-censorship and expanding internet access and freedom of expression in Yemen and beyond. So Walid, welcome, and over to you.
So I'm muting it now. So thank you, Nick, and thank you, Ted. And it's really great seeing the ISOC family once again after many years of somewhat of a disconnect from the COVID times till now. But I would like to apologize for making it late. We had to swap. It's, summer families and things didn't go as planned, but now I'm back. And so first of all, let me see if I can share a few slides that I thought. And by the way, this will not be informational, so you won't get a bit more information, but you might get inspiration, because I felt a keynote would give you some sort of personal reflections of what has happened to me in the past and perhaps something that we can build on in the future. And I can tell the title is quite mundane. Everyone knows internet is a catalyst for change, but maybe not many know what I personally have gone through to understand this personally what this actually means. So, and many of you have taken this, some of you have given it as lectures when you describe what the internet is. The geeks in the room would tell you that it's a network of networks. Others would say it's obviously a network of computers communicating. But I'd like to give a different perspective. I'd like to say it's the greatest disruptive technology of our time. It might be a bit over the top, but I do believe that from personal experiences. And while it's obviously not just a network of computers, it also is a network of people. And I like the way that Tim Berners-Lee refers to the internet being humanity connected. And not only is it people as persons, but their dreams and aspirations. And so it helps break down barriers. And that's one thing that we'd like to emphasize more a lot when I do this talk. When it comes to my personal experience, I feel that the dimension of the internet breaking barriers is the most important one. And I'll explain more to that, particularly when it comes to giving voice to the voiceless. And obviously, when opportunities arise by the internet, it changes lives. And so there is the dare element when we use the internet. If you dare to use the internet wisely, it can change your life to the better. And I believe that wholeheartedly because I've gone through this myself. And so this keynote is more of a reflection of my own journey. And thanks to Nick for bringing that up, recalling wonderful memories of the past. But here I once again tap into it. So I come from Yemen, in the Middle East, although I've been in Sweden for the last 17 plus years. I do have my own roots there, and we started a business back in the 1990s, early 1990s. My father founded the Yemen Times as a newspaper towards the world. It is meant to reflect what's happening in the country. So over time, we decided at the newspaper to begin a news section saying, okay, let's cover other media. What do other medias talk about when it comes to developments in the country? And there are many Arabic language papers. So we felt a section called Press Review, or the review of the local press, would be somewhat apt for this purpose. However, something came along, and then the internet just boomed in the 1990s. And you can imagine when paper newspapers started to dissipate and lose traction, web content, news websites have started to emerge. So now we have a dilemma. How can we deal with this? And in one way, we can say the internet has disrupted the way we worked in the news media industry, from analog to digital. So one solution I thought is to develop my own news website, because I had a degree in computer engineering, and I was able to leverage open source tools to create a news aggregator that would collect information dynamically. It was hundreds of thousands, in fact, millions over time, and present that, and using various algorithms to emulate the early news Google in Yemen. So that was so good. It's like a kumbaya moment for me at the time. I felt very, let's say, excited, because I seen growth, and it being one of the most spectacular news websites in the country at the time. But something terrible happened. And obviously, every good thing has to come to an end. Even though I adapted to the internet, I ended up being censored. And the reason for censorship, as you aptly mentioned earlier, is that shutdowns and dictatorships, etc., were seeing this as a threat, because you're presenting opinions that are not existing in many different governmental circles. So that meant I had to react. And as you see, the statistics at the time caused a major disruption. And so the beauty of the internet is that it is decentralized. And all of us know that this fact is what makes it resilient. And so it was obvious that I'd have to adapt and move on to the next stage, which is to create a plugin, as well as a number of alternative solutions to circumvent censorship. And that's the adapt element again. And so it meant that we are coming back again to reusing news as it's supposed to be. But then I came to the other point, which is this is a phenomenon. It's not, I didn't really find myself in the internet space until something happened to me, until I realized there is censorship. And it's not just the Yemeni phenomenon, it's a global phenomenon. And during the Arab Spring, that was when I felt it the most, because we've seen so much backlash. And many of you may remember how ruthless some of the regimes were. So this is a time to reflect and see this is not a personal problem, it's a global problem. And so that's when I moved to the next stage, which is to create software to help circumvent censorship somewhat efficiently using split tunneling. This is an approach I use to minimize bandwidth use. And it's one of the tools that has been open sourced, and it's available. And it's even been featured by CNN for a while. During the peak of the Arab Spring, it played a major role to helping activists and journalists access the internet. And so that's, again, the note of adapting to change. But there's one more final element to this that I learned in my journey, is that you can do it to yourself, you can reflect, you can adapt, but without moving one step further, which is to convey this information to others through my doctoral dissertation here, Breaking Digital Firewalls, through open source tools for the scholarly community, like Mecodify, which is a means for you to analyze open data. And through a number of discussions and talks that I've given on a number of TED events, this is the final stage where I am right now. I'm a scholar, and I feel education is critical to complete the cycle. So disrupt, adapt, reflect, educate. And this is my philosophy in life. And I think it's an ongoing circle from one point to the other. You can go back and forth, but eventually you meet your purpose when using something like the internet. And I believe that it taught me that instead of resisting disruption, including disruptions in new technologies such as AI and other areas like blockchain, instead of resisting them, you need to ensure that you dare. there. And that had actually worked for me, and it should work for you. So that's my keynote speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Walid, for this very engaging and inspiring overview of how can everybody overcome censorship, and also for highlighting freedom of information worldwide. It is very important for our community to get stronger and closer to fight global challenges that, again, can have solutions that can be brought up by anyone locally. So now it is time for our time to act round, during which we will share concrete actions that we can all take to improve internet resilience and advocate to protect the open global internet for everyone. We can support our work together to ensure the internet, and we can show how the internet can be a resource to enrich people's lives and a force for good in society in the future. In our European region, there is a need to advocate on internet resilience and engaging our community to take an active role in our advocacy issues. So, highlighting the tools available in our online education portfolio and Internet Society, it's time for our Time to Act session, where Marianne Plutosu, our Internet Society's Foundation's Learning and Training Program Advisor, will share what is available in the portfolio and how you can benefit from taking our free courses, which will enable you to become the Internet Society advocate you would like to be. So please, Marianne, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Daniele. I'm going to quickly share a few slides, which are only 3. Okay. So thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. It has been really nice to follow the conversation so far. And I've seen quite a number of points on education came out, so it's quite crucial for us to present exactly what we do on the educational side at Internet Society, and how exactly you can engage and how you can benefit from those educational programs. So my name is Marianne Pletoso. I'm program advisor. I work at the Internet Society Foundation, and I'm part of the training and e-learning team, mostly engaging with different partners and chapters to deliver training together in different countries on different topics, online or face-to-face. During this presentation, I'm going to take you mainly through 3 points. First of all, I'm going to share with you the training catalog that we have here at the Internet Society. Second, I'm going to share with you a few of the courses that are key in the advocacy and policy section. If you want to know more about all the trainings that concern the policy side. And then, last but not least, I'm going to share with you a few ideas on how we can work together, how you can engage with us, and how exactly we can train your communities as community members. So first of all, the training catalog is made of 14 courses. And as you can see, most of the courses are or technical oriented or policy and advocacy oriented. This is mostly because as training at ISOC, we support Internet Society's mission. So the mission is to build the internet and to defend the internet. This is how we came with the courses, the technical skills on how to build internet infrastructure, most importantly, how to maintain it, how to assess communities, for example, if they would like to install community networks. So on one side, we have all those courses which are like more technical based. And on the other side, you can see that we have all those courses that are like more policy oriented and more specifically advocacy. And I can just highlight a few of them just for you to know exactly what would be, the most relevant for you if you would like to know more about the internet. Like, for example, the Internet Governance course. It's quite a crucial course because it takes the learner through all the aspects of the internet, most importantly through a technical aspect, how the internet is made, what are the technical components of the internet. Then it goes through the actors of the internet, who exactly is there involved, who has a say in the internet governance, for example, and what the weight is of all those actors. Then the multi-stakeholder approach, which is the one that of course is considered the best to function in the internet industry. And it has been completed with some elements of cybersecurity, of course. So this course, for example, could help not only policymakers, but also anybody who would like to know more about the internet. Policymakers in the first place, because it informs policymakers of what exactly is there at stake every time there is a decision being taken, and what exactly what's the impact, you know, being created. And then moving on, I would also like to highlight the courses number 12 and 13, which are mostly on what the internet needs to exist and to thrive, because these courses for us are crucial to show what are the properties of the internet that have to be maintained to make sure that actually we keep the internet functioning through I mean as global, trustworthy, and secure in the infrastructure. And of course, to highlight also how to write an internet impact brief, and also it's also very important for policymakers, because it takes anybody through those elements to see exactly, you know, when a policy is being discussed or decided or implemented, what exactly the impact creates that new policy on the internet. The courses, all of them are available online, so you can access them through our learning management system. We can also deliver them sometimes in a face-to-face approach. Of course, that's going to depend on, you know, physical requirements, computer labs, if those are needed. And they are also available in 4 languages, including English, French, Spanish, and Arabic. Last but not least, I want to share with you a few ways for us to work together if you would like to benefit from this training offer. And I would say, first of all, the easiest one, of course, is to go on the learning platform and enroll in the course. All the courses are free of charge, are open to everybody, as the internet should also be. So don't feel shy. Just go check the platform. You can see the website there. I'm happy to see that it was also pasted in the chat at some point in the conversation. The main page where you can find all the courses, you can just go and access and check them, see exactly what's into each of them. However, I think that the training catalog was also shared in the chats. In addition to that, how can you make benefits your community from these courses? You can, for example, highlight the web page on your own web pages. If you have, like, for example, a chapter web page, you can highlight the training offers to make sure that your own community is aware of it, and that they can take advantage of it, access and get additional knowledge on the internet. Every time we open a new cycle, because we have the courses, since most of them are being delivered with an expert, we have them delivered in cycles to make sure that we can take each learner in that specific cohort through that learning path. So every time we have a new cycle, I think there's a communication being sent out. There's a newsletter. There's a social media channel where that news cycle is being advertised. Feel free to share that information with your own community to make sure they are aware and they know more about it. Last but not least, we can also, it's something that we have been doing more and more lately. We can also deliver, I would call them on-demand training, because it's kind of a private session. For example, if you know that you're going to have a very important internet governance meeting or events coming up soon, you can decide to train your own audience. So in that case, you can easily reach out to us. We create like a private instance for that specific audience, and we deliver the training only for that specific audience. In this way, learners can be together, can learn together, can exchange, and so far it has been quite valuable for our own community. I can tell that every time we are in lead up of big conference, for example, I can tell you the Internet Governance Forum is one of them, but not only. We often have chapters coming to us saying, listen, we would like to train our own community. We would like our policymakers to know more about, for example, the internet governance for when they go to the events. when they participate in any activity internet governance related. So we can create that course, we share a link, it's extremely easy, we share a link and anybody clicking on that link can enroll in the course, and we start within a week or 2 weeks according to what the indications are from the community, from the chapter. So I'm going to stop here. However, I'm going to stay online for the rest of the session. If you have any question, don't hesitate to reach out. I know that in the chat, a few informations were shared, including an email address, learning@isoc.org, when you can reach out to us to know more about what we do, and to eventually, if you would like to do something together more specifically, like an on-demand training, you can always reach out to that address, and we'll get back to you with more details and with the planning phase of the course. Thank you very much, and I'm going to stop here. Moving next, I'm going to give the floor to Ted, who's going to take us through a number of fundraising elements and opportunities moving forward to make sure that we are able to deliver our activities together. So with that, I will give you the floor.
Thanks, Marian. Today we've seen how the community is working hand in hand with the Internet Society in many different ways. And I think it's been shown that together we are stronger when our impact is inspired by the other parts of the community. We've heard that as a theme several times. Communities across our region face a range of significant challenges. I think now more than ever, we have to defend and advocate for a safe, secure, and resilient internet. That's critical to ensuring that the essential infrastructure and the essential regulations can be transformative for years to come, that we're not boxed in ways that close down what the internet can be. So there is definitely more work to be done. And I think together we have the opportunity to ensure that the internet can be a resource to enrich people's lives and serve as a force for good going forward. One of the trainings that Marian just mentioned is, what does it take to make the internet thrive? And I think the answer to that is complicated, but I think one of the key things is the interaction that each of you has demonstrated is important. And I think if you've been inspired by that, please do consider becoming a donor yourself. Your donation can be any amount that's meaningful to you. There's an example up there right now that shows you what even a small donation can do. Even more importantly, though, if you can help us expand the Internet Society's global network of donors so that they can support our shared vision of an internet that's resilient, accessible, and a force for good, that would be even more important. There's a QR code there for donation on the screen, and there should be a link in the chat that you can share to your network, hopefully along with the hashtag MyRegionConnects and a story to celebrate the connections that power your community. Each of those actions will help us to meet these challenges and to meet the goals of the Internet Society, that the internet is for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted, for that important message. For anyone who missed the QR code or link in the chat, we will share that again by email shortly. So today's event not only marks a celebration of you, it's also a springboard to the future. So throughout the sessions, we've had a deeper look at the opportunities and challenges facing the internet in the region and beyond, and how we can take action, no matter how big or small. We have so many challenges that we are called to face together, but we also highlighted how youth as a variegated category that encompasses many, many social needs and experiences can be a good source of new solutions and ideas, and how we can also have a role in impacting policymakers for better internet. To continue to think global and act local on critical internet issues, like extending the internet and enhancing the internet resilience, we hope to have your support to celebrate our global community throughout the rest of the year and across our upcoming community days. So let's continue to connect, share ideas, and inspiring each other to persist in extending the internet's reach and protecting its long-term well-being across the region and beyond. So please see in the chat link to our Community Days page and register for the remaining regional events. The next session is on 29th of August and celebrates our North American region. So finally, we value your feedback. So how was Community Day Europe for you? If there is anything else we could improve, what you like, what you didn't like, please respond to our survey that is being shared right now. Those are 4 questions. You should see a link now and a QR code if you prefer to access the survey that way. It's super fast, just 3 minutes to complete. We ask you to evaluate the content of today's event. So for some closing remarks, I will now hand it over to Nick.
Thank you, Daniela. I'm going to ask our technical team, the survey, are we running each question for a full minute apiece, or is this just one question?
Just this one question. If people want to give a little bit more feedback, you can use the link that's on chat just to let us know how you felt. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank Daniela. Thank everyone who's joined us today, our speakers, all of our participants, all of you who have joined us from around the region and beyond. I see someone's up very, very late in the community. But so thank you very much. I think that's going to do it for today. If you have any feedback, any questions, or would you want us to talk about something else in the future, let us know. For now, thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day, night, morning. Bye-bye.